Neil Harman of the Times, thank you for speaking to the LTWA website. We'll look ahead to Andy Murray's clay court campaign first of all, Neil. What would you expect the next 6 weeks to hold?
Well, I actually think that he's probably a better clay court player than even he believes he is, Nick. I think that Andy can do pretty well. When you think he's been a semi-finalist at the French Open, he's been a semi-finalist in Monte Carlo and in Rome, so there's no doubt he's got the quality, and I'm sure now he has that first US Open behind him, that first Grand Slam in the pocket. There's no reason why he shouldn't play much more relaxed on clay. I think he sometimes lets his perceived weaknesses on the surface perhaps play on his mind a little bit more than he should. So I actually think we could be in for a very decent spell from Andy. He didn't play Madrid last year, deciding to resist the temptation of playing on blue clay. But other than that, as I say, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't play particularly well. He'll have Lendl both here in Monte Carlo and in Madrid and then in Paris, and that's a big inspiration for him as well. So, yeah, I think we should look forward to a decent spell from Andy on the clay.
What have his preparations been like, Neil, the last couple of weeks? What have his been movements-wise since Miami?
Well, he practiced up in Boca for 3 or 4 days on the clay there to get used to it. But of course, obviously coming here, it's a lot different. I think the texture of the clay is different. The way you move is slightly different. So he got here on Wednesday, and he's been practicing hard. I watched him yesterday out with Marcel Granollers, the Spaniard, hitting the ball extremely well, moving well, looked confident, and I think he's got it where he needs, where he wants it. It's a very movement-specific surface to get used to. You just have to get used to that slide, which of course you don't do anywhere else unless you're Novak Djokovic on any surface. But here you do have to get your mindset different. It's just those intricacies of moving around the court. But I mean, Andy's used to it now. He's been playing on the clay for a long time. In fact, he learned how to play on the clay, which is an essential prerequisite, I think, for any tennis player.
Assess the draw for us this week, Neil, in terms of Murray's draw. Obviously, on paper, looks pretty tough.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, a lot's going to depend, of course, on whether Novak Djokovic, although he's in the other half, that's of course going to be a decision that he'll make before he steps out. But that's something that he's going to think about, his ankle. It's kind of loaded a little bit. I mean, with Nadal in Andy's half, that's going to be very tough if they both get there, of course, on Saturday. What a semi-final in prospect. I think that would be a real thorough test of Andy's capabilities on the surface. But up to then, he could play Stan Wawrinka, who's good on any surface. Potentially Robin Haase or Eduardo Rochebasselin of France in the first round. These are canny players on any surface. Yeah, Andy's got a tough draw, but I think these days that in these Masters events, from the get-go, you're going to be playing very good players, so he'll be ready for anything.
You were in Coventry, Neil, 10 days or so ago. Remarkable weekend as far as Britain's Davis Cup team were concerned. Where do we go from here? Obviously, the tie with Croatia looks winnable on paper.
It all will depend on Andy. I mean, he said he's going to play. It's very hard, I think, to project forward 6 months as to how you're going to be and what your form will be like. I mean, it could well be if Murray plays in the US Open final and defends, that's now on a Monday night this year, he would probably have 2 days to get to Croatia to prepare on play, and that's very, very difficult indeed. I mean, what Coventry taught us again was that you make decisions about British tennis at your peril. I think after the first day, well, historically, no one in their right mind would possibly have given us a chance. The doubles team played brilliantly, and then James Ward came up in the 4th match against Tursunov and played out of his skin, really, from 2 sets to 1 down. Played so hard and gave so much, he actually ended up in hospital a couple of nights later. And then Dan Evans played the way Dan Evans can play. But he'd said after Friday night, after his first match, that he's unprofessional, he doesn't do the job right, he's distracted. Well, if he was not distracted, if he did the job right, if he really put his heart and soul into it, we'd have a top 100 player on our books. So a lot depends on him, but obviously a ton depends on Andy. And if he plays, he's going to be Cilic and Dodig, I would presume, for the Croatians. I think we've got an exceptional chance of getting back into the World Group.
And finally, Neil, the women are obviously in Argentina. I think they actually left on Sunday, so they will have arrived on Monday. Their chances in Argentina, your thoughts on that?
Difficult one. Obviously, with Heather Watson not playing, that makes it slightly more tough. And Laura Robson's singles results this year have not been particularly encouraging. We're going to play on I presume, a very slow clay court. They have one very, very decent clay court player who's actually won a tournament this year. I think it's going to be exceedingly tough for us, but here's an opportunity for Joanna Conta to step up and show what she's made of. I think she's a fine player. Whether she's equipped to handle this, I don't know. It's going to be a very, very tough match for us. But if we win, we're into World Group 2. Would be a wonderful fillip for the British game. I just think in Argentina, on a desperately slow clay court, it's going to be asking a lot of the girls.